co-constructing itself with nothing happening except sunlight falling, some water, some carbon dioxide, and some nitrogen. That's it. That's all that's been going on for 3.8 billion years, and all this stuff is around here. Isn't that staggering? This is a co-construction through an adjacent possible that we cannot state, that's partially lawless, that builds itself. We don't have this in our science anywhere. Anywhere. We are building ourselves, we're building our economy, with no local laws describing it. Nobody's in charge. It's happening, it's unfolding, it's driving economic growth or failure. The same thing's true of our civilizations. We don't have a theory of it. We don't know how to talk about it. It's not what Newton told us. It's not what Descartes told us. Okay? It's not what Galileo taught us. So I'm breaking the Galilean dream, which I have in my book. What I mean is that with Galileo rolling balls down the inclined plane, he found that the distance traveled varies as the square of the time elapsed, and he got a universal law. That was before he got in trouble with the church. Okay? And then Newton derived it a little while later in one of his laws of motion, or his laws of motion. And so we've come to the view that everything's law-governed. It's not. It's really not. At least I don't think it is. Okay, now I'll tell you that there's a side argument that I got into today that we could explore that says it's maybe algorithmic for non-deterministic algorithms. So we can come back to that if you want to talk about it. I think that's wrong too. Okay. Now this, before we get to God, there's something else profound this means. This means, honest to gosh, to goodness gracious, we really don't know what's going to happen, right? Sometimes we do. Like, afterwards we'll go have some wine or whatever we're going to do. But we typically don't know what's going to happen. That's true of real life. We all know it. We sort of think that when science is done, we're going to, except for deterministic chaos. We're not. We can't even state this non-prestatable adjacent possible that we grow into. And that means something important. In fact, it's fundamental. It means that although reason is wonderful, it's an insufficient guide for living our lives. It actually is an insufficient guide for living our lives. And this means something that I certainly don't understand, but it means that what the metaphysical poets split asunder, reason and the rest of our sensibilities, has to be put back together again. And we don't know what that means at all. Okay? We are children of the Enlightenment. We have our own traditions. Okay? We don't know what this means. The Zen Buddhists probably think something, the Buddhists probably think something entirely different about this. But gosh, in our tradition, we don't know what this means. But we have to. And that means that reason and emotion and intuition and whatever else we bring to bear, analogies, however we do it, we manage to live our lives anyway. But I don't know how. When I first thought this, I thought, I don't know what to do. Then I thought, it can't be that bad. Life's been doing it for 3.8 billion years, and we're still here. And then I thought, well, I don't deduce my life. I live it. And Kierkegaard said, we live our lives forward, which is a good direction. Okay. And Nietzsche said, we live our lives as if we knew. They're right. And that, I think, brings me to a renewed, I only finished this book 2 or 3 weeks ago. What's God good for? Well, let's suppose that it is true, as far as I can make it out, that we live forward into that which we don't know. And let the theologians call it mystery. We don't know. And if we call it mystery, that's okay. We do. So why have we appealed to gods? Well, it's neat to have somebody to talk to about bringing the rain. Okay? And so we've done that. Sometimes it works. Not often enough when you need it, but sometimes it works. I think the deepest reason that we have reached for a God is we need something to orient ourselves in the face of mystery. I think that's the deepest underpinning of it. We have to live our lives anyway. Now I want to come back to spirituality. I want to talk about a global ethic, and I want to talk about whether it's wise to use the God word. The God word is incredibly dangerous for all the reasons we know. It's also our most powerful symbol. There are billions of people who find sanctuary in God. A global civilization really is happening. We really have to talk to one another. We have to talk to one another. Dawkins, for all the brilliance of his book, is just going to win enemies on the other side. Okay, it won't work. We have to find ways of speaking to one another. I think we need to create a safe spiritual space without a supernatural God. I'm going to use the God word, but maybe that isn't the right word, in which we can talk to one another and say, of course we need things to orient our lives. So I want to use the word God to mean creativity in the natural universe. Not an immanent God, certainly not a transcendent God, nothing outside the universe, just nature. This amazing one that we're in, where life came and meaning came, and consciousness that we don't understand came, and values came, and we don't know what's going to happen, but we live our lives anyway. The creativity that's around us. And the reason I want to do so is threefold. We always build our churches on the holy sites of the other. The Notre Dame sits on the holy site of the Druids, I think. The sanctuary to Chimayo in northern New Mexico sits on a holy sipapu, a hole in the ground, which for the Native Americans is the site in which the first people came up and populated the earth. Actually, in building our churches on the sites of the holy ones, we honor the spirituality of those who came before us. We build them on the holy sites. Okay? For the Incas brought up stones to the tops of the mountains to worship the sun god, and at least according to some authors, what the Spaniards did is said, build crosses up there and put the stones on the bases of the crosses, and pretty soon they were worshiping the cross. Of course, I've heard other accounts in which they did that, and they sort of said, heck with the cross, let's just go on with the sun god. But anyway, so one thing is the following. God is our symbol. God isn't out there. I mean, none of us believes in God, but it's our symbol. It's our most powerful symbol. So one question is can we cleanse it and reuse it? Maybe yes, maybe no. I recognize that it's dangerous. But I always also recognize that we need something with enough power to transfer a sense of awe, reverence, spirituality, and sacredness to our lives. Because we humanists who believe in friendship, morality, democracy, free markets, have been commoditized beyond belief, right? We have, we know it. So one of the prices that we pay is that we don't have a global ethic. One starting to emerge with respect to global warming. But do we need a global ethic and some shared sense of the sacred? I want to talk